Good evening. I'm Lou Goldstein, and welcome to another edition of Focus On. Tonight, we'll be talking about film, the film industry, and specifically a new school that's over in Monroe, New Jersey, Syndicate Productions, and I have the co-founders with me today. They've been kind enough to spend some of their time and come over to the studio. We have Vinny Arizzo and Jesse Shea. I want to thank you both for coming over and breaking off from your time. I know you're very busy, but thank you very much, and welcome to Focus On.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, yeah.
That's great. Well, before we get into talking a little bit about the background and hearing about the world of film, which I'm sure you'll all be interested in, just have a couple of announcements to make that came up. As you know, I founded the Nassau Film Festival in 2015. It's been running for 7 years. Our 8th year is going to be in 2023 in the spring, in May. And we just got some good news. And the good news is that the recent ratings came out on short films, comprehensive short films, both worldwide and in the United States. And so just 7 years ago, when we had about 20 people in the theater, we now were told that basically the Nassau Film Festival is ranked number 39 in the world of all comprehensive short film festivals. It is ranked number 12 in the United States of all comprehensive short film festivals, and number 1 in New Jersey. And it was recently rated number 1 in the People's Choice Awards that were held 2 years ago. And so we're very proud, and I want to thank everybody who supported us over the years, or our sponsors that were there, everybody who worked on the festival. We had so many volunteers and judges, and I want to thank George McCullough, who curates the films every year right here and does a wonderful job, and it's just a great tribute. But what I'm most proud about, is not the ratings, but what most of you don't know is that every year the Nassau Film Festival donates the proceeds of the festival, 90% of the proceeds of the festival, to a different nonprofit organization every year. And for the last 7 years that we've been doing it, we have now donated over $15,000 to various nonprofit organizations in New Jersey. And so that I'm most appreciative, and I would really hope that all of you who would like to know a little bit more about Nassau and what we do for other nonprofits around the state is to go to our webpage, which is the NassauFilmFestival.org, and look it up. And hopefully you'll be able to join us in the spring of 2023, or view us online as we go online and our online platform, as well as come to the theater at the Princeton Garden Theater in Princeton and watch the films over the weekend, because they're outstanding international short films. So with that said, I'd like to talk to our guests today, Vinny and Jesse. First, Vinny, a little bit about Vinny. Vinny was one of the New York Film Academy's top students, and he interned at Universal Studios and later received a position at Warner Brothers. He then returned to New Jersey, where he continued the passion he has for film and his career love. And he worked in independent films that were received in festivals such as Tribeca. And these films went on to be Oscar-nominated films, too. In 2018, Vinny founded his first company, which was Arizzo Films, where he worked on projects for Netflix, Marvel, Hopeless Records, and other companies. He has also taught many young professionals at Staten Island Tech. And it's really his love of teaching, the collaboration with a close friend in the industry, and the art of cinema to which Syndicate Productions was born. Now, Jessie owned her own successful photography company, Shea Photos, where she specialized in portrait photography. And during that time, she had her work published in several magazines, such as Edith and Horizon. Is that Horizon or Horizon T?
Horizon.
Horizon, yeah. Okay, wasn't sure. Although photography was her first love, Jessie has gained extensive knowledge of film. In 2018, she graduated from Rider University with a degree in film, television, and radio. She has worked under many skilled mentors and Emmy Award-winning producers, and she hopes that Syndicate Productions will provide a community for aspiring filmmakers and photographers to find the resources they need and to kickstart their own careers in the film industry and business. So thank you so much. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And I know there's a lot of people watching that would like to know a little bit more about Syndicate Productions, how they can get involved. But also, first, how did the two of you start working together?
Well, the joke is from her end is that I slid into her DMs, but
yeah, I think he was hitting on me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, get out of here.
No, he messaged me because I was working at a production company and I posted something. So then he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And then he's like, oh, I sent him some scripts, and he's like, oh, okay, like, let's meet up, and we started writing scripts together, and then...
Yeah, and it was super exciting, too, because, you know, at the time, I felt like I was the only one in my town, really, like, you know, with the exception of, like, a few others, but that I was really, like, the only one really trying to pursue this as, like, a legit career. And then, you know, I found her, and she said that she wrote a screenplay, and I'm like, you know, I'll take a look at this. And then I read the screenplay that she wrote, and it just floored me. I'm like, yo, we got to get together. We got to write projects. And then that's when things just kind of kicked off from there. And we started writing films for years and years afterwards, up until the pandemic had hit, where we stayed very closely over the phone. And, you know, we basically said, hey, we got to start something over the course of the pandemic. We have to come up with some type of business, some type of company or something like that, because now everything's going digital and more people are going to want to move towards filmmaking, because no one can get out to the world and everything's going to be digital in that sense,
right.
you know. So that's why we figured that this would be like the best move.
Okay. So I know you have some personal experiences in the film, and we talked about a little about your photography business. So how does those careers and backgrounds help you, you know, in forming this new company?
Oh, I think making those mistakes and being the one to make those mistakes and encouraging to make those mistakes within the business, at least like within the school, because I think, you know, coming from a film school perspective and a film school dropout, they don't really teach you the art of the business, and they sure as hell don't teach you the business of the business. And
right.
then getting into the film business right after dropping out, I learned more within the field itself than I did actually in film school. So making those mistakes and then being a part of, like, you know, the industry and getting the connections and finding out that it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Yeah. And so then we basically came up with this idea saying, all right, you know, why don't we make a film school that actually works? And why don't we make a film school that is going to contribute and actually supply people with not only instructors that are currently working within the industry, but also you know, finding them work as well and helping them become their own entrepreneur. So I think that's why I think personally that's what I would take out of all of that there. So
I think my company, I realized what I didn't like to do.
Okay.
And that was doing events and like event photography and event videos, and it made me see that I wanted to go into cinema and the teaching route. And so my company really taught me like all the things I didn't like, all the mistakes I had to make to get to where we are now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're located right now in Monroe, right? Mm-hmm. So how many students do you have currently?
I think 20.
Yeah,
we're at 20 right now, including we're also certified with the Department of Disability. So we have some students over Zoom who take our program as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so in total, I think we're at about 20 now, and we started that program a year ago.
Okay.
So right now, we're also eventually moving towards online lessons, which eventually will be designated to people who can't reach our facility just yet. But, you know, we would get industry professionals come in and then, you know, just kind of, you know, record about their experiences and what they would like to see people do better than what they did, you know, when starting in that career, and then taking it from there. Right. So as of right now, everything is in person with the exception of, you know, some very few folks, but eventually we will move to online classes and everything. So
it's exciting.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
And how does your school basically differentiate itself from, you know, other schools? You know?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, as a student, like if I'm sitting at home right now, why would I come to your, you know, school? You know, what would you offer me that others don't?
How to find work?
Well,
Sorry.
no, I was gonna say so you mentioned I have a degree in film, so I went to film, like I studied film for 4 years, and I always say that I've learned more from him than I did in those 4 years, and that's just because they don't teach you the industry standard terms and all that kind of stuff, and going in depth into lighting and to, you know, setting up shots, and even the business end, how to market yourself, how to get the jobs. So I feel like they are very basic, and I never touched a cinema camera until I left school. They gave you basic cameras. We have top grade cinema gear so that you can learn with what the industry professionals are using. So I guess like just knowing that we have that stuff and the resources, like you're gonna get a better experience.
And on the end of, like, I was fortunate enough to where I never was in any college debt, but a lot of my friends around me were just dripping in it basically. And so in this case, what we decided that was going to work better for these people that want to learn filmmaking is instead of charging them a tuition, we charge them an affordable subscription And then basically that just doesn't put them in any debt. You know, I mean, the most that I think cinema school is like what? It's like 35,000 to 75,000 a year. 35,000 to 75,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at the very most that we could charge you is $5,000 for an entire year. That's the very most that we could charge you.
Okay.
I think it's also because we went through it.
Yeah.
He went through film school. I went to like college, got the bachelor's degree, so we know what they're lacking. And that's why we made Syndicate Film School, to show like, okay, this is all the stuff you need to know and like not put you in debt.
Right.
So that's kind of what we wanted to change, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. So Syndicate Film School and Syndicate Productions kills two birds with one stone. So we don't put anybody in any debt, and we actually teach them what is necessary within the industry. So much to a point where, because at least in the beginning I was teaching, you know, Jesse and I were both like teaching everything by ourselves.
Right.
Eventually, when we started bringing more instructors to come in that are working for, like, you know, we have cinematographers and gaffers from like HBO, we have people that have, you know, won film festivals all over the world, and, you know, people that have been sponsored by Amazon to like be the instructors and everything. By the time they had came in and they were sitting down with these students who had been with us for over a year, and then we've even had beta students that we started when we were, I think, 2 years ago prior to that. They met the students and they were like, they're really on their stuff, like like for real. Like when they thought that they were going to meet film students, they thought that that's just basically knowing slim to nothing. And I don't mean to offend any film student coming from any other college right now,
I'm
but
offended.
Yeah, but I mean, the real world is going to hit you hard by the time you get out to the industry. You're going to realize you're really going to realize that you're really not prepared, and that's not their fault. It's mainly because they trusted an institution and paid them all this money to make sure that they are taken care of and being set in the right direction, and they're not doing that. You know, so we want to make sure that we are that driving force. And plus, because now New Jersey is booming, the New Jersey film industry is coming back, we're looking to see if we can train the new workforce here. Okay. And making sure that that is all taken care of.
Well,
in that
Netflix
sense.
is coming here, Lionsgate is coming here. They're all building like studios. Jersey's going to be like the new film capital of the states. Yeah, I'd say in a few years, definitely.
Yep. Right. Netflix, I think, is building, they just bought, what was it, Fort Monmouth? And I think they bought 90-something acres that they're currently demolishing right now of this old military facility. Right. From what I thought they were going to be making a development office, but they are making a full-fledged studio. And then Lionsgate just bought, I think it was $120 million property in Newark, which they're currently setting up right now. So everybody's moving back, and that's all because of the tax incentives in Jersey. Right. So with that being said, now is the time to do it, and this is like, you know, we want to be here and, you know, make sure that we guide everybody towards the right direction in that sense.
So you could be the funnel to these various corporations.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Because we're also a production company that does, like, right now we're at like social media ads, landing page videos, but we want to make that transition to music videos and narratives and all that. So we want to be like a direct pipeline from student, then you could possibly get a job with us, you know, depending on your skill level and all that. So we kind of want to give job opportunities and job boards to our students, because what's the point of going to school if it doesn't lead you anywhere?
And so far we've seen some very good results with our students. So far the students that have put together films have been marketing at the festivals and have been winning a ton of festivals. Like we have one particular student, our beta student from, one of our 2 beta students from 2 years ago. She's now winning film festivals like all up and down the East Coast right now, and it's just incredible, and she's still going. So we're trying to make sure that we're using these methods and implementing them, because clearly, like, it's working, at least in this sense. And we want to make sure that these people are getting the jobs coming out of this program, and making sure that they have something better than what you would get at any other normal institution.
Something tangible as well, like a reel, and you know, videos, short films, things to show to, you know, not just us, but like production companies, wherever they want to go.
So who are some of your clients?
Yeah. So we work actually a lot with some nonprofits. So we have Make-A-Wish as a client, NJ Rise.
Carnegie Hall was a big one. Yeah,
Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall was an awesome one.
And then local businesses like construction companies and stuff like that. So right now we're doing, again, a lot of social media work, a landing page videos, but quickly trying to make that transition into bigger cinema. Right.
Okay. Yeah, we've been focusing more on the film school, at least like in the beginning. When we first started the business, the production end popped off pretty fast, and then we basically spent all of our time setting up the film school end because we figured that was going to be the hardest thing to do.
Right, right.
And, you know, we're just basically trying to now, it's all a balancing act at this point now.
Yeah,
so.
we were trying to get the one branch up so that the other one will be able to go as well. So, you know, we had to give like time to each one individually. And now we're finally going back to production and trying to like market ourselves in that way as well.
Okay, so the education piece, the production piece.
Yeah, so now we're going back to production, trying to like, you know, market ourselves, kind of go out and find clients, more clients, and make that transition into cinema.
Okay. You mentioned the film school, so let's just focus on that for a second. So you have a couple of issues, I'm sure, as every film school does. So what are the issues that you're trying to trying to resolve in regards to film education?
Oh yeah, well, I mean the debt and the education itself. I mean, I think I dropped out at a solid time. I'm not mentioning which school I went to, but I've been through quite a bit of programs, but I eventually dropped out because I felt like there was just a dead end at that point. I figured that everything that they were teaching me at that point was just not going to work because I can clearly see that there was other people doing bigger things than what was being done at the school. And I basically figured the only way that I can go out and do it is if I actually go out and meet those people in the process. And right before I left that school, we had a guest speaker come in from Warner Brothers, and that's how I landed my first job. I actually had snuck out and met the guy and basically, you know, asked him if I can intern for him. And as soon as he said yes, I dropped out of the school. Right. And then that's basically how that all started. But so we're trying to fix that. We're trying to teach not both the art end of the business and the business end of the business, because you could be the most talented person. Let's just say if every film school was teaching you the art end properly. They're teaching you film theory, they're teaching you cinematography, they're teaching you directing, screenwriting, producing, everything. Right. Let's just say they get that like perfectly. How do you market yourself now? And most people don't even know how to start from there.
Right.
Or even how to start a business. Like, they don't even tell you what an LLC is, an S Corp, a C Corp. These are things that we like to tell them and say, if you want, this is the tax incentives you'll get, this is what you'll get. Like, we'll even have guest speakers who are CPAs come in and explain that kind of stuff, because you can't start a business without that, and I feel like that's what school neglects right now. So that's kind of where we wanted to differentiate
like
ourselves.
The School of Hard Knocks. You tell the real life story, right?
Yeah, for sure. But it's the actual School of Hard Knocks.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
actually the School of Hard Knocks.
It's not theory, right?
Yeah,
No.
It's not theory.
We
it's
lived
all there.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have the experience to kind of go through and
Exactly.
help them through the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you touched a little bit about this, but it would serve a big purpose to go back and just talk a little more about this for those who may have tuned in, you know, in the middle of the program. So let's talk a little bit about, as a student, what can a student expect to learn, you know, at your school, at your studios? You know, what type of programs do you offer again?
So we tailor to every single student. We're not just teaching one cold program, right? Mm-hmm. There's multiple instructors with multiple experiences, and depending on which avenue you want to take, we're going to set you up with that person, and then that person will then guide you within that aspect of the business and even hook you up with connections. So what happens is, like, we could teach you general filmmaking, which, I mean, for the most part, people start off by wanting to learn something general, and then they begin to lean towards something more specific. And not something as, I mean, because a lot of people go into film school with the aspect of being a director-writer or a cinematographer, and then they end up leaning, at least going into the industry, they end up leaning more towards something like being, you know, a full-time gaff, a full-time grip, or maybe a first or second AC, you know, and that's something that we teach as well. Right. We go in depth on every individual job within the business, right even down to the niche stuff, between DIT, between script supervising, that kind of thing. So anything that they want to learn, we hook them up with somebody, and we make sure that if there's nothing that we can do within that program, that we bring somebody in from the outside to come in and speak about it. Okay. And we make sure of that, you know. So that's what they're paying us to do.
Everything from script writing, pre-production, all the way to editing and marketing it. So they'll learn everything, like general filmmaking, and then we go more in depth, depending on what you want to learn.
And that's something that some film schools have to, and that's something that any school or company has to understand. If there's something that you can't do, you got to outsource to it. But the problem is when you're, like, at least from all these other institutions, if you're paying all this money and they're not giving you the help that you need, then what's the point? You're just putting yourself in debt to just sit down and, you know, listen to somebody speak about something that you're not ever going to use. And at that point, I think we're trying to make sure that these people are getting the proper education that they need in that sense. So, and like I said, if there's something that we can't do, we make sure that we get somebody from the outside to come in and help us with that. Okay. So that's very important, that I think that we need to basically, like, change within, like, our society, within our corporate world, and, you know, even within our education institutions.
Well, it's good to get that real life experience in, so that students hear firsthand what they can expect as opposed to what they think, maybe what the outside world is like.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
you have no idea. You have to hear from people who've been through the process.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We have great guest speakers. This Sunday, we have a
I
great
heard-
one coming
I
in.
heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little more about, you mentioned earlier about special education students and special needs community. Talk a little more about that and how you're tailoring your film school for those students who are special needs students, and so they don't feel like they're on the fringe or they're invisible, so that they are visible and they feel that they can take advantage of what your film school has to offer.
Yeah, so right now we started over Zoom. So a lot of those students are able to, take an hour and a half every week and spend time with us and learn about film, anything from script writing to like editing. We have whatever they're interested in, we teach them.
Right.
And I feel like it's just very important because, they're just as talented, they're just as creative. So there's no stigma against them or anything like that. I just want them to learn the same way anyone else is going to learn, and I'm just super impressed. I mean, some of the scripts like my students are writing, it's kind of insane, and it kind of like brings me to tears. I remember calling him crying, and I was like, he just blew me away. Like his screenplay was just insane. So I'm glad that we could like be that place for them to go and have a community for them. So
That's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's something we never even like thought we could do. I didn't know how to get certified, and then we luckily came into people who kind of guided us through that process. And it was actually quite simple, which no one knows. It's very simple to get approved and be that kind of vendor. So it was exciting. Yeah.
Very exciting, yeah.
But we accept everyone. Like everyone can learn film as long as you want to.
Absolutely, absolutely. We shouldn't. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We want to try to encourage literally everybody, absolutely everybody. Because again, if you don't tailor to the needs of specific people, then it is some type of discrimination at that point. If you're not really making sure that everybody's taken care of in that sense. Right. So that's why we need to make sure that we can do this to take care of everybody. So.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, all we need is a certification, and now we have it, and anyone could learn.
Good, you're good to go. So let's talk about successes, right? Every film school tries to boast its successes, for students. And students want to know that when they come to film school, that they hopefully will be one of those successes, as they graduate through the film school. So could you expand a little bit about what successes your students have seen since leaving the program?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, for sure. So starting the business, I want to say within the first 3 months, a very good friend of mine linked me up with his brother-in-law, who then basically brought his friend on. So I took 2 beta students, right?
Right. 1
girl, 1 boy, and I taught them at the time. When we had started Syndicate, we were just doing this out of my father's garage. So I taught them, and then they started to learn very, very quickly. And we started hiring them for actual jobs, like for Carnegie Hall. We've even shot some concerts and stuff like that. And so now Fran, in this case, one of our OG students in this case, she basically was putting together this short film that has been marketed to film festivals all over the place, and she's been winning best overall. She's been sweeping film festivals left and right, even to a point where some of the film festivals that she couldn't make were reaching out to me. I would get frantic emails from some of these festivals saying, we want Fran, we want Fran's film, and we want to let her know that she's been accepted to this festival, and this and that. So, even outside of the people that she forgot about that she submitted to, that these people would reach out to us and try to get our attention and let her know that she's in the tops. And things would just work out in that sense. So she's literally winning festivals all up and down the East Coast.
Nice.
And it's just it's crazy. And so now we're focusing more on with the rest of our students and everything like that. And now we're building short films, and we just got a whole new wave of students since we did the grand opening and everything like that. So right now we just gave them a new assignment to make sure that they all work together and collaborate and make multiple films, and so that way they can submit festivals. Because by the end of the day, if you win one festival, even though you directed that, the entire team, they're winners too.
Yep.
So it's not just her, it's the entire team. And I think the DP to that film that she shot was, I think, 12 or 13 years old.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's insane.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I also think what's important is that we actually have a great relationship with the local acting school, Actors Playground in Freehold.
Yes.
So
yes.
their films have actual actors in it
Okay.
who study acting. So it's not just your friends pretending to be in your film. Like,
Right.
you have people actually bringing your words to life.
Okay.
So I think that's what sets them apart when they go to film festivals, and why everyone was so impressed with hers. And now we have another student who's just entered a bunch and getting high praise. So I think they see that it's real acting, real cinematography, and they're like, this is different.
Right.
And I mean, just to kind of mention the Actors Playground, which Ralph Colombino, you know, he's absolutely phenomenal the way that he teaches these students, because all of these students have, and they always, like every other week, they post like the credits that these kids have. You know, they have some from Netflix. One was just on Hulu, Law and Order, and you know, just like all these different commercials. The list goes on. You see like half of these kids have some type of, you know, credit, you know, before they even leave the school. So by the time they make it out to the world, they have this established reel from legit companies, from like, you know,
Yeah.
established
Great.
companies.
So our students have to cast from their actors.
Okay.
You know, we try and encourage, like, get real actors for this. You know,
Right.
don't get your friends to do this because it's gonna look like a student film.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So let's, in the short time that we have left, let's talk a little bit about the long-term vision for Syndicate Productions and where you see it going in the years to come.
I would say we want to, you know, have this facility where we not only have productions going on, narratives and music videos, but, you know, we have a full functioning film school.
Right.
And then we give them a direct pipeline to jobs, so that, you know, you're paying for the education, and then you're getting paid for job board access. So I think it's just to, you know, just to keep expanding and maybe one day franchise and have these little film schools in every state. So.
And
Nice.
multiple studios in many states. Like, I mean, the joke is we want to make this Tiger Stolmans of film schools, you know, and like that's the thing when you're using real industry professionals, and you know, we basically are now tailoring to what the industry is looking. Because I've reached out to friends that, you know, some are union producers, and you know, some are cinematographers for, like, you know, like, you know, HBO, Marvel, and stuff like that. You know, we talked with these folks who are like, what would you want? What would you want to teach if you were to do everything again? Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to base the curriculum around. So by the time that we open up all these different studios, we can actually train the workforce and everything like that.
That's
so,
great.
so I mean, it's a process, and you know, it's been great. It's honestly, every day is different, you know, and it's nice. We're meeting new people all the time, and it's working. It's working. So. Now we're just.
That's the 10-year goal.
That's
I
great.
think.
That is the 10-year goal.
10-year goal.
Great.
If we can do it in 5, I'd be impressed.
Well, it's great
Yeah.
that you were able to co-found, you know, Syndicate Productions. You know, Vinny, Arizzo, Jesse, Shea. What is your, you know, website, or how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, of course. So it's going to be for production. We actually have syndicateproductions.org,
Mm-hmm.
and then for the film school, it's syndicatefilmschool.com. Right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, everybody who's watching, check them out. If you're thinking of going to film school, just want to know a little bit more about them, in Monroe, New Jersey, just check out their website and be in touch with them. I'm sure Vinny and Jesse will be happy to answer your questions,
course.
and happy to get you enrolled too, on the way to hopefully a very good film career. So I want to thank you both for coming on. I wish you much luck in the future.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope it grows and you know that good things happen to you both.
Thank you.
Because
Thank
you take
you.
a chance, and you know what they say, you have to take a chance to make things happen. So
Well, with people like you helping us, we'll get there faster for sure.
Thank you
see.
so much.
We'll see. Well, thank you very much. I'm Lou Goldstein. Thanking you for watching this edition of Focus On. Stay healthy, stay active, and stay focused. I'll see you next week on another edition of Focus On. Have a good night.
Every day,